Hello, everybody. Steven here, Green Effect Podcast, live on the air. Season 4, episode 15. We're getting up there so high, I'm forgetting the damn numbers. And today we've got Frank Johnson, Oh, wait a second. That's not your name. Oh, darn, I got your name wrong. Oh,
It's a
bit of
good
an
start.
inside joke here. So, so first, it is pronounced Rene, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, all right. See, I'm making sure. I didn't want to do it. So we had
I
Renee on the
called you
podcast.
Stefan that one time. I
I
remember.
know. Sorry. We had Renee on the podcast about a month ago or so, and he pronounced my name wrong. So now we are even. There we go. Even Steven, pardon the pun. So, Renee, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I'm doing very well. Thanks for the opportunity.
Good.
It's always good talking with you, Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I got a good buddy.
Oh,
My
very.
business partner. My business partner is named Stefan. So I'm constantly using the word Stefan all of a sudden. So Steven.
Hey, listen, we're all about the excuses here, buddy. We're all about the excuses. It's all good.
I just spoke to him today. Like I
Oh,
speak to him. There we go. Okay.
it's all good, man. It's all good. Well, it's great to have you on because I think, we always want to kind of talk to people who are out there in the real estate world. And listen, the Green Effect podcast is finance, life, and business, right?
Hmm.
So when you really kind of wrap that around some of the great stuff you're doing, there's lots of different stuff to talk about, right? So I'll throw it out to you there. Tell people a little bit about yourself, what you do. I want to hear about the area you're investing in right now. Over to you, bud.
Sounds good. So I'm René Masse, and I'm based in Kingston, Ontario. I've been here for 30 years. I was a Queen's student, and I just decided to stay. I'm originally from Toronto. And the beautiful part about Kingston is really the fact that it's a student town. It's a government student town. So this is where I've done all my investment for the past 15, 20 years. I started off as a French teacher, did that for 3 months, decided this is not for me, jumped into contracting, property management, and now we do a combination of all three. But typically, what I provide best for my clients and investors is the side of the realtor side of me. I've been a realtor for about 12 years now.
So how do you go from teaching French to being a real estate agent? Talk to me about that
Yeah.
transition a little bit.
That's okay. So you know what they say. You go to like my parents were thrilled that I went to university. So they're like, go to university. You meet people there. They're like, okay, we got to get a job. And then my girlfriend at the time, she was going to go to teachers college. Her parents were teachers. We're all going to go to teachers college, and it worked out well. Went to teachers college, but in the meantime, I was running businesses every summer. So by the time I got to teachers college, the idea of getting a job just didn't seem right to me. And when I did, in fact, when it didn't all work out, I failed back. Most people go for the T4 and then do the side hustle. I did the side hustle, and when the side hustle didn't work out, then I fell into teaching. And so basically, I only taught French for 3 months. And the way I learned French myself is thanks to my parents. My parents speak French. They're
Got it.
from Quebec.
Yeah.
So the idea of learning French differently, it just didn't resonate with me. I like teaching and coaching people,
Yeah.
but from a perspective of real estate business, that's the way I like to do it. French, great language, but it's not a necessity in Ontario. It's fun to use occasionally.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? You probably wouldn't want to be a teacher right now anyway. Like that is a tough
No, no,
job.
no,
Like
no,
I
no,
mean,
no.
I got two of those things, man, that run around my house. I mean, thank God they're in their 20s now, but I'm just coming out of it. It's not it's not it's a tough job.
It
Like
is a
it's
tough job.
not
It's something you
easy.
want to do for 20, 25 years, and it's a lot of stress and
Yeah.
a lot of time involved to it. And if you're not emotionally involved in it, which I wasn't, then it's
Yeah.
not for you. And I saw that when I was teaching for 3 months or so. I saw people just looking at their watches, and you got the impression they're looking at the time. So okay, recess is done in 20 minutes. No, they're looking at like I've got another 7 years of this stuff, and I'm out of here, which is not a way to live. I didn't want to live that way. And when I
No.
first told my parents and my friends, they were like, "What are you talking about? You're quitting? Like, what are you on drugs?" They didn't understand. My parents, 2 years after I'd quit, they were still saying that I was a teacher because it wasn't obviously a highlight that I was a contractor struggling from contract to contract, doing any type of work that I can get by, but it was needed, and the entrepreneurial spirit was in me from the start.
Yeah. Well, and I think generationally too, it starts to things have kind of changed that way,
Mhm.
and I look the way I look at the way it used to be. It's like always go to university. Like we
Yeah,
made this comment in a previous podcast. It's go to school, go to university, get a job, buy a house, and
yeah.
then die. Like that's it, right? But there's a
That's what
lot
they
more
want you
to
to
it than
do. And university's a
yeah,
lot of fun.
exactly.
It's not bad. It's a lot of fun. I would have stayed if I didn't have the right grades. I would have stayed till I was like 30. I stayed till I was like 26, 27. A lot of fun, but overall, it was a way to. I was one step in. I was afraid to take that big step, leap out, and then make it on my own, which is tough when you're just starting off. So I get it. I get it. I really, but I learned a lot, and it's what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And not going through teaching. In the beginning, people thought it was a bit crazy, but now looking back and what I've accomplished over 20, 30 years, I think I made the right call.
Yeah, yeah. And I made a jump similar from the standpoint going from a bank. So back 15-ish years
Oh,
ago
yes,
as a
yes. That's when we
manager
met.
with
We met
yeah,
when you were at the bank. RBC, wasn't it?
exactly. Yeah, but then even before that though, I was with Bank of Montreal back in I don't know 2010, 2011, whatever. But I was a branch manager, so it was going from that kind of T4
Hmm.
income, right, to out on my own when I went out with RBC, right, and I did that for a while. So, but that jump, like that jump
That
from
leap. Hmm.
not having a paycheck every 2 weeks to more sporadic, but on your own, right, your own business, your own brand, your own
That leap
whatever,
of
right, and
faith. Few people make
yeah,
it. Few people do it. You got to do it early because early. I mean, when I did it, I was 21. That was the last time I had a job, or
yeah,
26 or so. I was teaching 3 months, but once you understand, once you're confident that you can generate income through any means possible,
yeah.
then you learn from it. It's not always pretty, but I think I've gone. I thin. I don't eat. I don't necessarily take for granted the time needed, but you need to go through those tough times in order to get to the good times.
Yeah, I'm going through that now. Right now, I have three new mortgage agents on my team, and if we're talking tough times, they're going through it right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. At least
but
they got the
that's
support.
also the
They've got the
fun. It's the
support.
chase.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I like to think so, and I think, but it's the chase, right? So what drew you to real estate, to be a realtor? Because I mean, there's other jobs you can do out there, right? Other self-employed jobs. What drew you
It's
to
been
be
in
a
my
real estate
blood. It's
agent?
been in my blood for years. Even as a boy, I'm looking back. I was making tree houses and setting up little cabans in forests. It was all part of it. Plus, my father dwelt in real estate in the '80s in Toronto and made a killing, and we benefited. We reaped the benefits. I went to private school. We went to France for a whole year, so we saw the great advantages of it. It wasn't a big surprise. I mean, they did it the way they knew how to do it. When I had to shovel lawns and all, or cut lawns, and all, it was a bit of a burden, but we saw the benefits. We reaped the benefits down the road, so it wasn't that foreign to us.
Yeah. And how was it getting into it? So when did you actually start as a realtor then?
I started in 2008, 2009.
2008.
Yeah,
So right around kind of a small, global crisis going on. What was it
yeah.
like starting in '08 and '09?
Well, so I'm a man of multiple revenues, so
Yeah.
it wasn't a big transition. So in a way, I say I'm an entrepreneur, a realtor, but I'm an opportunist. I see where the money goes. I see where the money flows. So as a contractor, that business scaled up, and as you build more, as you acquire more buildings, you get basically a management team as well. So I was getting large contracts for these contracts, and I would have like 5, 6 guys doing the work, and then occasionally buying a property here. They would fix it up. Then we jump onto another big contract, and then one guy maybe he'd be the maintenance guy. So we built from there. Yeah,
Right.
it wasn't like I've always had multiple revenues. So being a realtor in the beginning, it was a slow transition. I don't think like a realtor now. I do, but back then I was thinking more like a business owner and a investor. So I was looking to build up my portfolio.
But I think but that's important though, because I think it depends on what you have, like whether you're a property owner with X number of properties, or you're a mortgage broker, or you're a realtor, or I don't know, you have a convenience store, like whatever. It doesn't matter. You got to run it like a business.
True,
Like it
true.
doesn't.
True.
matter what you're selling, you got to run it like a business. You know what I mean?
Back then it was student rentals. I was a student myself, and in fact, it was very enlightening to see. I would landlords. It was property management companies we would deal with. We would be dealing with landlords, and they would. I remember the first time I moved into one place, and it was like mid-November, and it was a bit sketchy, and the landlord wanted. The fact that I was moving in November wasn't ideal for the landlord. So he goes, "Listen, pay for the whole year." I was like, sure. I had just enough to pay for the whole year. And he took off to Thailand. And I stayed and studied hard at Queens. And I'm thinking, wait a sec, this doesn't make much sense. So
Yeah.
I from that moment on, I envisioned myself owning numerous properties. That way I can have
Yeah.
that freedom and liberty. Because I was counting the people in the room, in the house. I was like, okay, there's 6 people. Man, we're paying, the calculation was there. And I was thinking, okay, this guy, and he was a dentist. He had learned as a dentist. So he was telling me all this stuff. So it wasn't all that foreign to me. It was part of the education going to Queens. Because if you know Kingston and Queens at all, every student is congregated around the university. So so you meet, there's a wide range of stuff. And for the longest time, there is no large company that came in and bought everything. There's now a few larger buildings, but that's very recent. So back then, it was still small mom and pop operations of houses that were built, and then there still had a few families living within the university. Now everything's changed a bit, but student rentals is what allowed me the freedom, and we're noticing again in this current market in 2024 that student rentals are back in cash flow. They work. The numbers work.
Now, did Kingston ever have that issue though? Because I know, like through the pandemic, I know stuff around Western Waterloo, like prices just
They
skyrocketed
did,
for student
of
rentals,
course,
right?
of course, of course. But
Yeah.
what also what you got to remember with Kingston is that there's no room for expansion. Every student wants to be within. So, for example, let's take Trent University or something, or Ottawa U.
Yeah.
Like these universities were built no more likely in the 60s, and they were built in the suburbs. Kingston
Yeah.
University, Queens, was established in 1841 before Confederation,
Mm,
and it was built basically, which was back then somewhat the township. It's
yeah.
downtown now. There's no room for growth. So,
Mm,
and there's also a lake at the bottom. South,
yeah.
there's lake. There's no room to
What's the
grow
term?
there.
You're landlocked. It's
You're
landlocked, basically.
landlocked completely.
Yeah.
So, therefore, um, there's a lack of supply and a huge demand because Queens keeps on expanding. There's 28,000 students, while they're
Yeah.
comparing themselves to London, to Western,
Yeah.
and they're at 40. So they keep on expanding, but there's no room for growth on the housing side of things. So therefore, the prices of student rentals, they're paying. Guess how much they're paying on average per room?
Are they over 1,000 already?
Oh yeah, 1,100. And the
Yeah.
new builds
Yeah.
are
That
fifty
that
are
happened at Western
1,500.
as well. It's like
Yeah,
1,200 bucks a room.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
1,200. So with those numbers, there's numbers that are cash flowing even in this market with high interest rates, and that's what we're doing with our clients. We're presenting them opportunities, which we're buying uh, buildings that are close to university. It's a student rental, but we're duplexing it. We're adding
Mm,
on other units to it, so that way, from the lender perspective, they're seeing it as well. It's a duplex. Oh, well,
right.
it houses students, but it's a first as a duplex. It's more in line
Yeah.
with the vision of how governments and banks are going along with Bill 23.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about Bill 23.
Bill 23 is an amazing thing. I think I speak about it every week. Bill 23 is a provincial bill. In fact, they're encouraging housing. So, and the idea is to detensify the area. So we've been urban sprawling for many years now, and they're saying we don't have the funds anymore for this. We need to increase density per lot. So it's if you're taking a piece of pie, we've got the same piece of pie, but we're just cutting it smaller. So a
Right.
good example would be those lots that were built in the 60s. Big lots, 60 by 150 or 120 feet. And there's a one single
Yeah.
family dwelling there. So this is an archaic system. It's back in the 60s, which was plentiful and oil was cheap and it made sense. Nowadays, it doesn't make any sense with the high interest rates. So now all governments, federal, provincial, and municipal are the ones who write the bylaws, but provincial, there's ways of influencing it. Federal is pushing, federal pushes housing through CMHC, influences that
Yep.
with interest rates. Provincial also has ways of pushing it through the Planning Act. Municipal does really the bylaws and discrepancy between, the little variations you have from like Pickering or Ajax to Kingston or Belleville. Like Tatum, you can have Tatum parking or not, or 3 bedrooms downstairs in a basement. You can have that in Kingston. In Belleville, no. So there's different little nuances here and there.
Yeah.
So Bill 23 has really changed the rule of the game of investing. I'm meeting people who are investing and they're all talking about duplexes. No, we're now since Bill 23, now the rules of investing in real estate has changed completely. Now we're looking at properties as land development. We're looking at, sure, duplexing it, but down below there's also the third unit or the fourth unit. At the moment, the Land Planning Act in Kingston is making through huge changes, which we've not seen in many years, and this will dictate how the Kingston city grows in the next 5-10 years. Really, it's changing all the rules now. So they're talking 4 units per lot
Wow.
rather than 3. And how's that going to look like?
And is it easy? Like, is the town easy to work with?
That's a really good question, Stephen,
Yeah.
because the city of
Because
Kingston,
I know there's laws, and then there's actually getting stuff done with the law.
So I was just at the city of Kingston Land Development building department, and so the city of Kingston just received $27.6 million from the federal government to accelerate housing. We've been in a crisis, as you know, a crisis of housing for many years. And in Kingston, because of the situation where we're locked in land, there's also in the middle of Kingston, there's like a federal land, which is a farm next to the like we don't have any, the vacancy in Kingston's been very low at all times. So 27 million over the course of 3 years is what's going to be given to the city of Kingston. Free money.
But what are they going to do with the money, though? So here's $26 million.
That's a good question.
What are they spending on? Other than hiring more government employees?
Yeah, exactly. So right now they just received it, but they're going to be receiving it in a matter of 3 years. If they don't reach their, I'm in the impression if they don't reach their criteria of 800 units per year, 800 units, not houses, units. So a unit may be a basement unit, an ADU at the back, or a coach house, or whatever you want to call it. They may not get all those funding. Where it's going to go, they're making incentive programs. I think it's they're spending $1 million of it on incentive programs to create more duplexes and ADUs and triplexes within the city of Kingston. At the moment, the numbers don't seem to work. It's because they're also trying to create housing, which is going to be affordable housing for people. But once again, if you're an investor, you're doing this for the money. You're not doing this just to house people. So it's got to be a give and take. The point is, when I went to the city, they were so encouraging of housing, any type of housing. They wanted an ADU. They wanted to build this, build that. They're open for business. They want more housing.
Yeah. So so when you say incentives, are they giving you money? Is it a tax break? How does the incentive work?
This is so new. So I run the Kingston Investor Club, and we had the city of Kingston come and present to us, and they showed a program. It's one program is for big businesses, of course. Another one is for smaller businesses, and they're giving basically 40,000. I like the numbers are changing because they presented it to a few people and they're still in agreement with it, and it has to go through council, and council has to vote on it. And they also have to consider that they're looking for affordable housing because it's government here. They're not looking to profit. So the numbers didn't seem to work. They're going to provide 25,000 for a duplex, for a secondary unit and basement, and 40,000.
So they're giving you that money.
They're giving you that money. They're giving that money at the end. But here's the catch: you need to keep the prices 90% of CMHC's prices. CMHC's, CMHC does all these 2-unit bedrooms and all that. The average, so it
Right.
had to be 90% below or something. I looked at it, many people looked at it. It didn't seem to work at the moment, but right now, as we speak, they are writing those rules at the moment. We have a
Yeah.
meeting at the Kingston Investment Club next week, and it's a planner who's coming, and he's very in tune with the new bylaws that are being written. They're not going to be done until the end of June, and we'll see the effects in August. So the funds, the grants that I was talking about, they were looking into this start in end of August or so.
See, and that's important because I think we talked about, I've said this on my podcast before, around a basic affordability, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think the answer, the way Canadians are so indebted right now, with mortgages and other stuff, like we're the highest indebted country in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
don't necessarily, I don't think the answer is bring down the cost of housing. I think a lot of other things have to get caught up to it. But when I hear, rentals, for example, like the amount to rent a place is insane.
It
The
is.
amount to buy a house is insane.
It
So
is.
I think it's almost like I don't think we need to bring the prices down. I think we need to add to the existing infrastructure. So building new
Mm-hmm.
properties, actually having more. You said it earlier, supply and demand, right? We need more supply because I think we have jacked up so much on immigration. Like we can't just say, okay, guys, everyone
Yeah.
go home now, right? Like no one's leaving,
they're
right?
they're
I mean,
they're
some are,
so
but
so
I think we just need to amp that up,
yeah,
right?
they're working on it from the federal, provincial, municipal. They're working on it. It's government. You understand? It's
I
slow
know.
process. There's committees involved. There's a lot of people involved in it, and but I see it moving towards it. Is it gonna solve the housing crisis we're in? No, not at all. But as an opportunist like myself, as a realtor like myself, I see opportunities at the moment that are good moving forward in the next 5 years. If someone builds a duplex, you got a duplex, single family dwelling, you put a basement in there, great investment. But
Mm-hmm.
you got to keep in mind, can you build an ADU at the back? Maybe not
Yeah.
now, maybe in 5 years. Once you build up a bit of equity, you throw in that unit in the back, it'll have a lot more value. So right now we're looking at properties that are somewhat close to university or the college that you can add an ADU at the back. You can add a secondary suite in the basement. And they're,
No,
they're,
no.
they're long-term plays because there's one thing that we often overlook investing in Ontario. It's a great place to live. But investing in Ontario, the reality is that there is the landlord-tenant board, and it's a broken system. As long as anything you want to call it, it's a broken system. We went last year. It wasn't students. We went last year. It was a $15,000 loss. I told the JV partner, listen, let's tack that onto the renovation. It is what it is. Let's move on. We won't do that mistake again. You learn it and you live from it. A lot of people are going to the States, and I understand why, but there's still opportunities in Ontario. So the way we're hedging against those challenges is we're dealing with purely student rentals now. I started off with student rentals 20 years ago, and I saw the advantages of it, and it provided a lot of cash flow. And then I went into duplexes and multiplex. Now I'm back at the student rental area because the great part about it is that first, they always pay. There's never any issues at the landlord. We're never going to landlord tenant board. They're paying, sure. Their standard livings are a bit lower, but second of all, they leave after 2, 3 years,
Yeah,
so you can
I
bump up the
always
rent.
remember that. Yeah, there's a turnover
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
which is what
So
you
so
generally want.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that it just hedges against investing in Ontario. Let's. I mean, we can complain about the landlord tenant board as much as possible. Complain as much as you want. You're not going to change it. Let's work
Yeah,
with what it is. It is what it
which is
is,
sad, but yes.
and let's play the game wisely so that we can take advantage of the situation. And from my perspective, what I know well is Kingston. I've been here for 30 years. It's student rentals that work well. They pay. Their standards of living is not as high as others, and you can bring in a lot more as long as you duplex it and add more space at the back. So that's what we're doing. Near the university, we're helping clients and investors buy
So
properties. Yes.
yeah, so with the how is Kingston impacted then with the reduction and we'll see if they actually do it. I don't think they will, but
Yep.
we're just going to say they will. With the reduction of student visas being issued,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
okay,
okay. So that's a good
is
question. Okay.
what's the impact
Yep.
on the Kingston
Okay.
investor landscape? Because we're doing all the
Okay.
student rentals, we don't have students. Like, how?
Stephen, this is a
Talk to
very
me
good
about how
question.
you're seeing
This
here.
this is a very
Yeah,
good question. I've been dealing with students for, like I said, 20 years. I was a student at Queens 30 years ago.
right.
I'm not that
Yeah,
I'm not that old, but I
you got to remember you
sort
can't date yourself completely, okay, man?
of. So there are four types of students. When people say
Yeah.
students, it's a convoluted word now. So students. So you've got two types of students. You got one category is the university student. University student, they're typically Canadians. They're typically from Toronto, and at Queen's University, they're typically second, third generation attending that university. Queens is
Okay. Yeah,
not
makes
just
sense.
like any type of university.
Yeah.
It's got the image of the prestige university. People who are coming from Toronto, private schools going to Queen's University. It's got a higher level of it. So that's one type of student. They're not gonna, they'll pay premium price. They'll pay 1,500 per room. They'll pay at bare minimum it's 1,100 per room.
Yep.
And they want to be close to university, so they'll pay, and they've got the funds either through government funds or through their parents.
Yep.
So that's one type of student. Second type of student is the college student. Now, college student, great people. They didn't get the right averages. It's a 65%, 65. You need 65% average to get into college, and the dropout rate in college is 25%, and they're Canadians as well, and it's a
That
whole
high,
different
eh?
that high, and it's a whole different
Wow.
attitude, but
Yeah.
St. Lawrence, Queens, there's at Kingston, there's St. Lawrence and Queens.
Yep.
St. Lawrence College is a very good college, and they pump out a lot of nurses. So even
Okay.
though it's a different type of, there's only about 5,000 college students, and they're pushing a lot. Um, there's still it's a good caliber of a college. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not like
Well, if it's nurses, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
good God, they should be
yeah,
like assembly line, man. We need so many
that's right.
nurses in this
And
country. So yeah.
they're also pumping out a lot of civil engineers as well, the
Wow.
business
Okay. Good. Oh,
analysis and
need
all
that
that. Yeah,
too.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so it's a different. It's not, the pay may be not as high for them, but it's
Right.
good quality work, and it's a
Yeah.
good level of college. Then there's the international students. So
Hmm.
that definitely plays a play. And yes, St. Lawrence College did receive a fair amount of students from the international, and this is their way of getting into the country, getting their permanent residence down the road. And these people,
Right.
what we're seeing at the moment, they're seeing they're 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 renting 900 per room near the college, and they're living two people per room. It's usually people from India. 50% of them are from India, or in Nepal,
Yeah.
and they usually they're they have like 20-hour courses in a week, and then they're working 40 hours at Tim Hortons or Home Depot or some type of big business. So they're
Okay.
constantly working. They're very hard workers.
Yeah.
They will pay 900 a room, as I mentioned, and it did influence the population, but this decrease is not going to have a huge effect on Kingston at all. Kingston is a government town, a student rental government town. We've got
Yeah.
prisons, we've got military, we've got hospitals, and
Yeah.
municipal and federal and provincial government establishments in Kingston. If you look at the Kingston, where it's located, it's just kind of
Hmm.
hedged in between Kingston and Ottawa and Montreal. It's right in the middle,
Yeah.
so it's its own little entity. We don't need, like, Brockville comes to Kingston, Belleville people come to Kingston for Costco, things that they don't
Yeah.
have. Like, we've got a symphony in Kingston, we've got everything we need.
Yeah.
Um, Steve Miller Band's coming to Kingston in June. Like,
Oh,
it's got a big theater.
that's pretty big. That's pretty big.
I threw it in there because I knew you'd have you would know him. So
Well, you guys are officially on the map.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. So yeah, we're a small town. It's only 140,000,
Yeah.
but Greater Kingston's like 170. But we're noticing
Right.
there's opportunities to make money still in Kingston, hedging accordingly to what the government wants, the lenders wants, and what the
Yeah.
population needs. That's what we're noticing.
Now, does RMC come into any of this, or they have their own
Yeah.
everything,
So
right?
RMC is probably one of the best educations in Kingston, but it's a
Yeah.
smaller. It's got about maybe 1,500 to 2,000 maybe students, and they live on campus all year round.
Yeah, they
While
don't live
Queen
on in any
students,
sort of housing.
yeah, like I think 100%. They kind of try to get like 95% of Queen students live on campus, and then
Right.
second year they live off campus. So
Yeah.
Queen's University gives them accommodation, but not for the whole year. For the whole 4 years or 3 years that they're going to stay there.
Got it. Okay, so let me ask you this then.
Mhm.
So, with you doing with all the student housing and stuff like
Yep.
that, like I mean, kids are a lot of work. All right.
Yep.
I mean, I've never met anyone who invested in student housing who didn't have to become like a mother to these kids,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
talk to me about how do you manage your student rentals? Like, are you there once a week checking in on
Okay.
them? Are you once like how do
Yeah.
you manage
Okay.
a student rental?
Yeah. Good question. So I actually made a video about this. Look it up. Just Google my name to the rental. It comes up. It's got a lot of hits on it. So they mean well. First of all, they're
Yes.
they're from good families. They're well funded. They're smart. They may not be smart with cooking and cleaning, but they're on the smart side. You need to have like a 92 average to get into
Yeah.
Queen's University, especially engineer program. It's not everybody. So you got to be careful about who you choose as well. I mean,
Yes.
so how do you manage a student rental carefully? You do all the work in the summer months because they're often away in the summer months. They're there paying, but they're often away. So we do a
So
lot
is
of
that how
the
that works then? They pay for a full year, but they're only there for the 8 months, really.
exactly. So
Okay.
let's typically what happens is you move in the first year university. They come in the first year, and then they get their groups, and by Thanksgiving or so, October, for on the first year, they clique together and they start looking. In October, they start looking for May 1st. This has been going for years and years, this system. Then they look October, November, and obviously looking for accommodation for month of May is a sideline. So their studies are first, and then they're looking on the side. They're looking kind of on the weekends and in the evenings. And then exams start in December. Then they're not looking at all. And by then,
Mm.
I would say 50 to 60%, maybe 70% have found their accommodation for May 1st.
Mm.
This year, what we found was a lot of scramblers. January, February, there were still people not finding accommodation. It wasn't because they weren't looking. They got very desperate. They were really pushing for it. The thing was there was not enough supply of accommodation, so a lot of them got squeezed out.
Hmm.
So here's what we found. We helped an investor client of ours buy a student rental, and
Mm.
it was a house that was owned by the parents, and one of their child was living in it, and they were done the university, so they're moving on with their friends and all that. And they were paying, I think, an average of 660 per room plus utilities.
Okay.
So we purchased it for 780. It's
Cool.
walking distance from the university. And then because it was February, and because we occasionally help out with the management side of things, he asked us to see if we can get it rented for May 1st, which is challenging at times because if you wait March, you're done. Like April, May, March, April, looking for May 1st, you're not going to get students. You've lost, the ship has sailed. You've lost an opportunity. So it was
Okay.
February. It was just enough. Typically, they have found their places in May 1st. And
Hmm.
they start paying May 1st, but they don't live there for the first 4 months, and they start subletting and all that. So the
Right.
worst month to rent anything is May 1st.
Do they often sublet?
They try, but there's a flood. It's flood. The market gets flooded, and there's few students actually because most students don't find work in Kingston. They'll
Mm.
go back home to Toronto or elsewhere. So they've got their accommodation, they pay for it, they're not living there. We do the renovations if needed. We bring it up to par to fix everything. So that September 1st it's all ready.
Right.
But going back to my story for this, we bought it for 780 and they were paying 660 plus utilities. I put up an ad on Tuesday, the viewings on Saturday at 11 or so.
Yeah.
Guess how many students we got?
How many?
65.
Wow.
There was close to 10 groups of students looking for accommodation. And so
Jeez.
I was after we got all the names, we let them in, they took a look at it, they liked the room size, they liked the closets, they liked the distance from the university, the living space as well. And I said, listen, we're all, everyone seems so kind. This will be a bidding war. And even though I put it to 1,000, it came up to 1,100 plus utilities, plus bonus, plus signing bonus. Like it was something I've never seen
Now,
before.
can they afford it? So can the market tolerate that?
Yeah, yes, because we're talking.
Okay.
So Queen's University, as I mentioned, it's a good university with a good name. It's parents who've come here. They're alumni. Their grandfathers or grandparents are alumni.
So that's the
So
kind of student that for that particular
yeah,
situation. So would
yeah.
you pick that situation as opposed to like a newer Canadian, for example, who, 2-door room sort of thing?
Oh yeah. Students are a lot more easier to deal with. First of all, they always pay. That definitely helps, and they're
Right.
funded by their parents or from government. So there's over the course of 20 years, I've never lost money. They've always paid.
Right.
Those that are riskier are places that we own in the township that are duplexed and they're rented by Canadians who are just starting off or transition. They lost their job all of a sudden. They're part of the construction of some sort. They've got good jobs, but when we're in a recession, things go. Like it's just there's only so
Yeah.
many people that work for government that want to rent. They've got a lot
Yes. Yeah.
more
True. Very true.
selections. So
Yeah.
so that's what we found that works in Kingston. And so they move in. They don't necessarily move in May 1st. It's vacant, as I mentioned, and they start moving September 1st. So it gives you a lot of time. And sure, the first week of September, we hear a lot about them. Something happens here and there. They don't understand this. They don't understand breakers or the fact that a toilet doesn't have to run
Yeah.
at all times. Little things like that. Sure, you gotta have good management. We
Yeah.
do our own management and we provide a few selection. We got the crew, we got the staff to do so because it's so essential to make sure that it runs well. But having a good management, it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier. And you just want to choose people properly. And it's not a question of payment. It's a question of is it going to be a group of guys, like 5 group of engineers together, a
Yeah.
party room? Like, sure, maybe I always tell them, listen, if you're going to have a party, I want to be invited. So that
There you
muffles
go.
it a bit. That muffles it a bit. Like, I don't want you invited. So, but yeah, we're going to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have
Yeah.
staff that maintenance crew that drop by occasionally, and they're friendly. It's not like they're just they're easy to talk to. They got good attitude, which I find is vastly different than a long-term tenant who's going to stay at a property for years and years and not move on. Their attitude and their communication style may be of less appeal. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And what percentage of your buyers will manage the property on
They
their
won't.
own?
They won't because
Yeah.
a lot of the people that we work with are from the GTA area or the Durham area.
Okay.
They're moving on to different areas because it's just so expensive. While
Yeah.
in Kingston, you can get something for 525. You can get something for 780 or 800 near the university. It depends on your leverage capabilities. There's a lot more room for expansion on it.
Right. Right. So, I mean, probably the biggest challenge right now for investors, other than figuring out cash flow and all this other
Mhm.
fun stuff, the landlord-tenant board. So,
Yep.
here's what I'm going to do for you. All
Sure.
right. I'm giving you an unlimited budget. Fix the landlord-tenant board. Go.
So, Steven, you're good. You're a funny guy. So
I was thinking about it, it's like, how do I
yeah,
approach this? I'm not going to ask
yeah.
you for all the problems because I don't know
No,
if they're listening to this,
no,
but
no.
here's
Yeah,
an unlimited
because
budget.
yeah.
Fix landlord-tenant board.
So you got to remember, I'm an opportunist. I'm
Yep.
not meant for government.
That's why I'm coming to you because I know what I would do,
Yeah.
but I'm not an opportunist.
So I don't.
Baby. You are.
Yeah.
Go for
So
it.
I don't see all because government needs to also take into account of the poor. situations where people are
Yeah,
living off
folks
the
that are
government.
renting. Yeah,
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 yeah. So
absolutely.
so they've got to take into account that. So I in a way, the law isn't all that bad. It favors the tenant, sure, no problem. But it's leaned too much on it, where the developers or the opportunists or the investors, it's scary, and they're going to leave, and that's what we're going to see with
Yeah,
where we're seeing people leaving to the states. We're seeing people invest in elsewhere. It's not the solution. It's just going to uh, exacerbate the problem. We're going to have even more of a housing
hmm,
crisis if no one's building anything because they're going to the states and it's
yeah,
cheaper, it's better, and the laws are in our favor. I mean, let's be realistic. Let's accept things as they are. The government does not want to get into housing. Got it. It's
yeah,
clear. And the housing that they do get into is very little. Okay, and it's
yeah,
for it's for those who really need it. Great stuff. But if you're going to encourage investors, developers, entrepreneurs to get into it, it's got to make sense profitably. We're not going to do this if it's
yeah,
not going to be profitable. So, and to make it profitable, you want to make it efficient, but also hedge against the bet. I'm at the age where I don't go against authority as much as I used to. In the beginning, I used to. Now, let's work in the flow of government and the flow of what lenders want, and we can actually make a profit out of it. And right now, what's working now is Bill 23. I'm all for it, and let's work with it to to make some money, make a profit, and be sensible down the road.
yeah. Now you changed that subject real quick there, didn't you? You just went right from here to
I
over
don't, I
here.
don't, I don't even follow it. I went to the landlord tenant board last year three
Yeah,
times, my first time ever.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
good. That's
yeah,
good. That means you're
yeah,
picking the right tenants. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. And
That's
that's one of
definitely
the
good.
reasons why we still do our property management, and we do it for ourselves and for a few other people. We don't have like 300 doors. It's only 80 doors, so it makes a difference. The quality's there, and then
Yeah,
yeah, we make sure, but selecting the right tenant makes a huge difference.
yeah. And I think if talk about government and all the other stuff, and yeah, I mean, listen, I'm at that point too. I know my mortgage business. I tell the one big challenge we have is documentation, right?
Mhm.
Every lender wants every piece of freaking paper you have, and I tell people this. I'm like, look, man, if they're giving you a mortgage, uh, I'll be your gatekeeper if they're being unreasonable because I think
Yeah.
there's a want and a need. So I promise I'll filter that. If I ask for a document, just give me the document. Like
Mhm.
seriously, why are we fighting this? Just give them the damn document. Like
Yeah.
if it makes them happy and they give you we're asking for a few $100,000 here. Like
Hmm.
give them the damn document. Like
Yeah.
really, don't fight things. Just go
Yeah.
get it, right? And yes, need and want. I will be your filter. No big deal because we always ask underwriters that is this a need or a want, right? Like what do you need? What do you want? But it's yeah, it just some cases that's the case, and then on the flip side, it's when we're talking about government. There, I was saying this the other day. It's gotten to the point now where it's almost like probably their intentions are good, but they don't know what to do. Like
No,
there's just complete
yeah, yeah,
confusion,
yeah. It's
right?
it's
We
there's a
have
lot of
money,
people involved, and there's so many people
yes,
involved, so many
well,
committees.
levels
Yeah, so many
too, right?
levels
And
as well, and no one has erected a statue for a committee yet. If you
yeah,
want things done, you get a leader, follow through. It's just that we're bogged down by too many people trying to too many opinions on it, and democracy will slow something down. I'm in favor of democracy, great, sure, but
yeah,
I'm saying
sure,
it's not one way to get stuff done.
yeah,
Napoleon, there was traffic problems in Paris back when he was ruling it. He goes, take down those buildings, take down those buildings. It was done,
yeah.
no traffic problems anymore. It seems a bit of extreme, but I'm saying that
I know what you're
governments
saying.
are all
Yeah,
trying, and it's a slow process, and
yeah.
I don't see the advantage of complaining because
Well,
once you start complaining about the government, you've you no longer accept reality. Reality
yeah.
is it's a mess. Got it. Let's take opportunities. Let's see how we can benefit from it. Let's see how we can make money from it. And those who have those conversations are far better off than wasting time and energy on government, which is a slow process, and they're not going to figure things out. And if
Well,
something,
no, I was gonna say, like, I mean, and that's the thing where you're absolutely correct. Um, it's gotten to the point now. I said this the other day to someone. I'm like, it's almost like we lost faith in anything. Like they could come out, right? On this podcast, I call them JT and Disney Plus lady. So Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm not getting political. I don't care liberal, I don't care. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. What I'm
Yeah.
talking about is they could come out and say, "Hey guys, we cured cancer today, and we're going to roll it out to you." You would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
people being like, "You can't do that. You're
Yeah.
crazy. That's nuts. They don't know what they're
Yeah.
talking about."
Yeah.
But we've lost faith. So to your point, yes, it's just broken. Like it's like a
It's
broken car.
yeah.
Okay, but
It's
it's like people have gotten so it's become so personal with people where it's
yeah.
like it's messing with their life. And again, I don't care liberal peace. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about simple leadership
It's a
where
drama story,
we
and people
yeah, well we say it in
we've always
sports
been
all the time
drawn
where
to drama stories, and this is a big one,
yeah,
which is appealing to many people. It's just there's certain levels where you go, okay, how much control do I have over my life? How much control do I have over my finances? Let's focus
yeah,
on that. There's a lot we don't have control over, but what can we control over? I think you mentioned it, Stephen, on my podcast about just savings. If you want more
mm-hmm.
money, spend less. Now, this is not. No one's going to have a weekend seminar about this because
I know.
it's challenging for some people. But just
Yeah,
spend
it is.
less. You want to make more money? Spend less.
Yeah,
It's not that complicated.
yeah,
It's I'm not one to for status quo or to follow up with the news and all that. I've been running my own. I've been independent for 30 years now, so um, I don't really follow those that drama.
yeah, yeah. It's a good way to put it. Yeah, it is like a it's you just kind of throw your arms up and like, all right, well, what are they going to try to do now, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just, but whatever, like work within it and yeah, try to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So when you're working with your investors,
Mhm.
okay, because it's a tough go right now. I've said this before, where back through the 2010s, all right, got dating myself there. It's now called the 2010s, but you could buy a rental and you didn't do any research, got lucky, cash flowed, low rates, you're a genius,
Yeah.
right? Well, now you got slightly higher rates, you got escalated or elevated prices. Give me a couple of tips or stuff things you tell your investors
Mhm.
now in this day and age, higher price, higher rates, all that other stuff. What are your give me two top
I
tips
was well,
that investors have to
yeah.
get into before
So number one
they got to
is
think about before they get into it.
strategy. Pick a strategy. Choose a strategy that you like that works with the current situation. As I mentioned, Bill 23 is so new. It hasn't necessarily been implemented all that well into the system.
Right.
It's so new. It's just like
Coming
duplexes
back to what we just
were.
talked about a minute ago. Yep.
Yeah, like 2016 when duplexes started off, no one talked about it. Like 2018, 2019, government figured things out, municipality in 2019 or so. So I would say know your strategy. Choose one strategy. If the states is what you like, go to the states. Just focus on that. Choose a strategy. But second of all, work with people who know what they're doing, who've done it, who've got the
Okay.
experience, have the right
Yep.
team. And it starts off with the
You
right
heard it here
realtor.
first, folks.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
team.
The
We talk
right,
about team all the
yeah.
time.
The team
Team,
makes a
like
huge
who's on your
difference.
team, right?
And a team that knows each other as well. I mean, I think Stephen, you mentioned this to me as well, where you say like, well, at least the realtor should be talking to the lawyer as well, or at least know the lawyer, and so they can be providing
Yeah.
some stuff, or the mortgage broker as well, so that it kind of works together to acquire it. So with my investor, my clients that I work with, there's really like a three. It's really knowing the strategy, choosing the strategy that you want
Yeah.
that works with what's going on in the current market, not against the government, with the government and the lending, because those are the big players. I mean, real estate investing, it's sure it's about brick and mortar, but it's a lot about finances. A huge part about playing
Well,
the
it's
right finance.
business. It's
It's
business. It's
business.
business, right? Yeah.
So, and second of all, a right team that can help you acquire it. So
Yeah.
with our clients, I mean, I sure I do JV partners as well, but I also with my clients that just want to do it on their own, I help them at least find get them to the point of acquisition, get to the point of drawings with permits, help them choose on contractors,
Yeah.
And also we could potentially provide leasing and management long term. So we're there along the stages along the way. We just don't let you buy the property and then close it and that's it. You don't hear from us anymore.
Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference. Someone who can actually be there long term. That's the way I like to operate. It's a relationship and it's a way of making of greater success in real estate.
Yeah. One last question for you.
Yep.
So 'cause I've heard different things on this, and I thought it was kind of a no-brainer. And
Mhm.
I'm an investor as well. We have a couple of properties down east. We don't have them here. But what's more important to you? Interesting question. What do you prefer, cash flow or cap rate? This is like Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, no. Well, cap. When I think of cap rate, I think multiplex. So the multiplex,
Yeah.
yeah, that plays a huge factor. So yeah, when I'm investing in multiplex, cap rate plays a huge factor. I usually
Yeah.
think by door. I think
Mm,
percentage per door, and then the lift. My with multiplex, I'm always about the lift. It's a different play. It's rather than renovating, it's more tenant turnover through cash or keys. Everyone talks about it. Few people do it. You got to be fully invested in it. Very
yeah.
few property managers that I meet actually will do it unless they're part of the team, unless they're part ownership of the building.
Right.
Um, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So it sounds like more cash flow than
Yeah.
anything
Oh,
is
so
more
cash. That's right.
key.
Cash flow is essential. Like you don't want to buy a property or buy a business that doesn't provide cash flow.
Yeah.
So cash flow is very important. Are you going to be retiring on the cash flow? I'd say build a
You need a
reserve.
lot of properties to make that happen,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
build a reserve. And but the days where 3, 4 years ago, where you were able to buy something cash flow 1,000 and then pull out all your money, in my eyes, that's a home run. Sure, we all want to be Babe Ruth when we get on the plate, but how
Mm,
many times are we going to be able to swing and get a home run every single time?
yeah.
Like I've
Well,
gotten a couple home runs, but to say that it was all because of my swing, no. The
yeah.
just it's escalated. It was also good timing played a big factor in there as well. Cash flow is essential, but it shouldn't be the be end and all, and it should be a way of building up a reserve. So the way I do it with my JV
Yeah.
partners is that we build up the cash flow, and at the end of the year for Christmas, we leave a bit in there just in case, maybe 4,000, and the rest we divvy it up and split it up, and that way
Yeah.
we can profit from it. But we're reaping those benefits. If one wants to invest in real estate
Mm,
and get monthly cash flow, well then the other fixed amounts. Be a debt investor, lend your funds, either cash, HELOCs, or RSPs into real estate, you're far better off than you get a regular amount, and it's much more
yeah.
safer.
Yeah, we've had some people that have made it rich off buying, selling, which you could do between 2013 and say 2019 or even 2020, as long as you sold at the right time. So I know I had a couple of clients where we got the report in, like the appraisal. I'm like, hey, this doesn't cash flow, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm a
Yeah,
mortgage specialist.
yeah,
I'll make the money. I'm all good with it. But this doesn't cash flow,
yeah.
right? Oh, it's fine. It'll go up in value, no problem. Fair enough. And that was a strategy. And I think
Hmm.
some people got caught up in that with the condo market, or pre-construction at least.
And
All got caught with their
as you
pants
know,
down in 2022.
a lender looking at that will see as a big red flag. If you got several properties
Yeah.
that don't cash flow, it's hard to grow. It's not
Yeah.
possible to grow on it. So there's many
Yeah.
ways of investing and growing it. It depends on how people like to invest in it. It suits their
Yeah.
needs. I think that's the key element of it, and also just to keep on persevering. Just
Yeah.
keep on plugging away at it. Not every deal or every project's going to be a success, or every relationship. You just plug away at it. You work towards it, and that's what I've been doing for 30 years.
Awesome. Well, then thanks so much for all that. That was some great insight. Not only for the Kingston area, but also just investing in general, right? And some of the strategies that you're using, and stuff like that. That's absolutely awesome. And it's good for, like we said, it's kind of such a mess out there right now. It's nice that we have someone like yourself who's such an opportunist. Meanwhile, I want to just throw my coffee mug against the monitor every time I read all the crap going on. But
Here's what I
it's
would
nice that someone's
suggest. Yeah.
positive. That's
Here's
awesome.
what I would suggest. Here's what I would suggest. Just knock off the news. Just talk off.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV. You're far better off without it. The valuable knowledge is done through those who know, business owners, certain leaders, or just online. Pick and choose the knowledge that you want to consume, because often the news, it hits the surface. It doesn't get any
So
deeper,
true.
and it's just a drama. We love drama.
Yeah.
I've done wonders just from turning off the TV. It's peace of mind
Yeah.
is much more valuable than the money I can make.
I have a 21-year-old daughter. I know drama. Let me tell you, I'm a subject matter expert.
That's
Let me know
good.
what you need. I can help you. Yeah,
Yeah.
government or my daughter, like pick one. I know all about it, so it's all good. So hey, listen, anyone wants to get a hold of you, shameless plug moment. How do they get a hold of you if they have any questions about Kingston real estate, student rentals? Go.
Just plug in my name, Rene Masse. Everything will pop up. My YouTube channel, my videos, my website, and my numbers are there. Just reach out, and pleasure talking to anybody about what we do, because I find this exciting. I'm at a point
Sounds
where I
good.
really don't necessarily need to work as much, but I'm too young to retire. I don't like staying on a beach. I don't even drink. So I like doing that. I
You
like
don't
doing that.
drink? How
I
are
don't
you a
even drink.
realtor and you don't drink? like,
I value
like,
health. I value health far too much.
well,
I've had
and
my
you're such
time
an
with
off.
it. I've had my time with it. I've moved on, and
Okay,
far
yeah.
better off. Far better off. Yeah.
Very good, very good. All right, well, listen, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully some people reach out to you because I think it's it's a good opportunity for sure. So, all
Thank you.
right, folks, that is it. Green Effect Podcast, episode 15. As we end all of our podcasts, we can't figure out a better way to end it. Remember, 5 stars because it doesn't accept a 4, 3, 2, or 1. Like me, love me, want me, follow me, all that stuff. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.